Chúa trong hội thánh. Kính chào tất cả con cái Chúa đang theo dõi trên Internet. Buổi sáng hôm nay chúng ta sẽ có những cái thì giờ đặc biệt. Và trước khi chúng ta sẽ xem ba cái video. Ngày hôm nay sẽ không có bài giảng. Chúng ta xem ba cái video và sau đó thì chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau phân tích rồi có thể chúng ta thảo luận bằng cách nào đó chúng ta sẽ đối phó với sự việc. Bởi vì cái video mà chúng ta sẽ xem trong ngày hôm nay nó là rất quan trọng. Nó ảnh hưởng đến tương lai của tất cả chúng ta. Điều đó tôi phải nói trước là quý ông bà chị em phải hiểu thế này. Có những điều các tiên tri của Chúa nói thì đúng, nhưng mà có một số điều họ nói có thể không đúng. Vì vậy thì chúng ta xem và chúng ta nhận xét. Những điều gì đúng thì mình làm theo, những điều gì không đúng thì mình chỉ để ý, ghi nhận mà thôi. Và những cái điều mà chúng ta xem đó chúng ta cần rất là thận trọng, bởi vì nếu mà mình không có thận trọng thì mình sẽ có thể suy nghĩ thế này thế nọ. Chúng ta xem mà rất là thận trọng, bởi vì những điều mà các tiên tri nói thì tôi thì theo cái nhận xét của tôi là tôi đã hoạt động với các tiên tri rất nhiều năm, cho nên tôi cũng biết cái cách của họ. Những gì mà họ nói nhiều quá đó thì mình biết là thường thường là không đúng. Những gì mà họ nói chỉ một vài điều mà họ nói thôi đã thường thường là đúng. Cho nên rằng chúng ta xem để mình biết, bởi vì nó sẽ ảnh hưởng đến toàn thể chúng ta chứ không phải chỉ có một vài người, bởi vì nó ảnh hưởng đến toàn thế giới. Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ xem những cái video. Today we will watch three videos. I said it, not movie, it's videos about YouTube, about what will happen and maybe as soon as next year. So watch carefully and think for yourself.
Believe me if I told you that the assassination attempt on President Trump's life was actually prophesied in great detail months ago. Back in March, this guy named Brandon Biggs actually prophesied in some detail the events that just transpired not even just 24 hours ago. Let's go ahead and pull up this clip from Brandon Biggs and hear what he's got to say here.
And I saw Trump rising up, and then I saw an attempt on his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking, people say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus, for what I saw coming. And
okay, yeah, this is wild. This is wild stuff. And the reason why it's wild is because, well, first of all, he says that there's going to be some sort of assassination attempt. That by itself is not too crazy, okay? Because other people have basically said the same thing. Even Tucker Carlson predicted that there would be some sort of assassination attempt. So that's not the interesting part. The interesting part, though, is that he gets the details about the bullet correct. And so what he then says, after he says that there's going to be a bullet whizzing so close to his ear that it bursts his eardrum, usually with an eardrum bursting, there's blood coming out of the ear. That may be what he actually saw in his vision or dream, or however he experiences these prophecies. That's probably what he saw, was just blood coming out of the ear. But what actually happened is that the bullet went through his ear, through his earlobe, and then that's where the blood was coming from. And so it may not be that he was necessarily incorrect about this. The next thing that he says is that Trump is going to fall on his knees. Some people might actually interpret that as like just further confirmation that this prophecy is true, because that's exactly what happened after Trump was shot, is that he fell down on his knees, literally fell down on his knees. The Secret Service toppled on top of him trying to protect him. But what I would say in response to that is that he's actually using a Christian euphemism, or like a sort of evangelical euphemism. Getting on your knees means you're just like sort of devoting yourself to Christ. He's saying that Trump is going to become this really great Christian. Now that is going to take some time. Like we just don't know what's going to happen. It's only been 24 hours since the assassination attempt. So we just got to kind of wait and see, like, what is Trump going to do? I will say that we do have some evidence. This was posted on Truth Social from Donald Trump just this morning. So today is Sunday, is the time of this recording. And he says, "Thank you to everyone for your thoughts and prayers yesterday, as it was God alone who prevented the unthinkable from happening." So he's trying to sort of, recognize that God is working in this situation, and he's ultimately the reason why he's still here. So he's kind of like, that's some evidence that he's becoming more religiously minded. And then he says, "We will fear not, but instead remain resilient in our faith and defiant in the face of wickedness." So there's some obviously religious terms going on here with faith and God alone preventing things from happening. I wouldn't personally take this as super strong evidence, because any good politician, any good Republican politician is going to know that your base is very religious, and so it just is smart to use this sort of religious language to kind of get them riled up. So I wouldn't necessarily take that. There's other reasons why he might be using this sort of language. So I think we just got to kind of wait and see. Like, is he going to turn into this really on fire for God Christian? Now, but what this kind of brings up is the fact that a lot of people, it seems like Trump is kind of jumping on this bandwagon too, is that a lot of people think that God was involved, or God was responsible for Trump's life being spared here. Actually, let me show you this other tweet that I've got pinned here. Yeah, this flag got tangled today at the Trump rally before Trump came on the stage. It looks like an angel. So there was an angel that was protecting Trump, apparently, because this there's a flag that got tangled and stuff. Yeah, I'm not really sure that I buy that. But here's another one. Okay, this one is a little bit more interesting. This shows the actual projection, or the angle of the bullet, and how Trump turns his head at the last second and basically saves his own life. But let's actually play this clip. This is nevertheless very interesting.
We see something that said, take a look at what happened. We see something.
Okay, it's going to slow it down. You see his head turn here.
What happened?
It turns, and then that's when the bullet misses him. And then you can see the sort of the angle, the line. I can actually use my cursor to show you guys. Yeah, here's the line. This is where the bullet would have traveled, which would have killed him, obviously. And then when he turns his head, it just went through his ear. So let's watch it at even slower speed. So he's talking. And then here's the head tilt. Bam. And then the shot. And then it goes through his ear. Yeah, and he grabs his ear. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that this is very good evidence, that there's some sort of divine intervention going on here. Now, I've got some thoughts about this, and I'll share those in a second, but I do want to let you know that we're going to continue playing some clip of Brandon Biggs' prophecy, because if he's right about this stuff, we might be interested in what he says is coming next. But now let's turn back to this divine intervention question. I think the correct way to think about this, well, first of all, if we want to put the responsibility of saving Trump's life on God, equally, we've got to put the responsibility of the person who actually died in the audience on God as well. So God saved Trump, but then God killed this audience member. And that just seems off. Like there's something off about that. And I think what's off about that is that there's free will involved here. There's free will of the shooter. The shooter of his own free will bought a gun, got up on this roof, aimed it, and started shooting. Okay, and that's ultimately who is to blame and who is responsible for what happened. So the bullet missing Trump is actually explained by the free will of the person shooting the gun. And it just so happens that Trump moved his head at the right time. Now, you still might say that God is ultimately behind everything and determines everything that happens, but then you're just going to get into this really deep theological debate about free will versus determinism and stuff, and that's not really the point of this video. But what I want to say is that there's other factors involved. It goes deeper than that, and so we just got to think deeper. So now let's turn to, as I say, we've got some more of this prophecy to play. If he is right about this first part of his prophecy, you might be interested in what he says about this next part. Let's watch.
Then I saw people interceding when I saw him winning the presidency through great. The Lord showed me it would go clear into the summer. Great persecution would come on him through the judges and through the law and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff. But there would be a stop to it, and there things would start to break free come toward the fall. And then I saw him winning the election through the Patriots coming out and voting, and then.
Okay, so none of that is super crazy. I mean, everybody, everyone is predicting that Trump is going to win, even in a landslide, especially with what happened recently. He's going to win in a landslide. All of the polling data apparently supports this as well. So this is not really a crazy prediction. I mean, keep in mind, though, that this was 3 months ago, and so things are a lot different now than they were back then. But that's his prediction, or that's his prophetic word or whatever. This is what he's saying is going to happen. Trump is going to be the next president. But then it gets even more interesting. And
then there will be a great economy crash. Yeah. I saw they had a great economy plan, a crash, worse than the Great Depression. And the Lord warned me about this. It would be a great dark time. But I saw paddles coming upon America's soil like a shocking of the soil. And I saw Donald Trump praying in the office of the Oval Office, and he was weeping before the Lord with his hands on his head like this, but he was weeping. And there was ministers and people, I don't know if they were senators or Congress people or whatever. I just saw them pacing and back and forth inside of the White House. I'm sorry, what is the White House?
Oval Office.
The Oval Office. Yeah. And they were interceding all inside there, and I could feel the presence of the Lord so strong on this. And then I could see that darkness that was the heaviness upon America with the financial crisis of what I saw coming. It started to lift above the trees, and I saw the blue and the things coming back out, and the green times and the good times coming back again. But the Lord said it would be forth a time of a season of a shaking. And it would be a shaking to awaken. And in this, this would basically, that he was not done with America. There would be a great revival come, and it's not all doom and gloom. That's what he said.
Yeah, so he predicts kind of three things. So the first thing is the assassination attempt, and then he's going to win. Then there's going to be this really big economic crash, like worse than the Great Depression. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And among us, there's this guy named Brandon Biggs who 4 months prior to the assassination attempt on Trump's life kind of got some of the details right about this assassination attempt. Not only did he predict that there would be an attempt on Trump's life, he predicted that a bullet would fly by his ear and then cause some damage to his ear. And a lot of people on this basis are claiming that this guy is like a true prophet. Now, on the other hand, there are critics who are saying that this guy is not a true prophet. This guy got some of the details wrong. So for example, he predicted that there would be a burst eardrum. That did not happen. And so on this basis, a lot of people are saying this guy's not a true prophet. Now, Brandon recently published a video on his YouTube channel in which he explains what happened and why he got that detail wrong and how that's not necessarily incompatible with him being a true prophet. In case you haven't seen the original video, let's go ahead and pull up this video from Brandon in which 4 months prior to the assassination attempt predicted some of the facts regarding this event. So let's watch this original, then we're going to watch his follow-up.
Trump rising up, and then I saw an attempt on his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum.
Okay, so that's the point. That's the sort of the primary criticism that people are giving right now, is that it did not burst his eardrum. There's no report from Trump or his camp that the eardrum burst. But the detail that he does get right, though, is that there's an assassination attempt, which by itself is not too crazy. A lot of people have been predicting that something like this would occur. But what he gets right, though, is that there's a bullet flying by his right ear. Okay, and that's pretty improbable. That's actually very improbable to get correct, because in an assassination attempt, that can happen literally anywhere that is, sort of damaging to the entire body. So you could receive a bullet wound anywhere in the torso. You could receive a bullet wound in the neck, in the face, on the back of the head, on the, going through the nose, going through by the eyes, anywhere on the face, right? And so, but what he predicts is that it would be by the right ear. Now that I think is very improbable, and that's why it's sort of raising flags for people and being like, is this guy like a prophet? Like, did he get that right? And then if he got that right, like, what about the next stuff that he says is coming down the pipeline for America? Is Trump going to be the next president? Is there going to be this economic collapse that he predicted? And so that's sort of why this is so fascinating for people, is that he got some of these details just like eerily correct, even if on some of the small details he got those wrong. Now, again, we're going to watch his follow-up video in which he attempts to explain that the eardrum burst was actually a mistake on his part, but that's consistent with what he saw. We're going to watch that in a second and then comment on it. But let's continue this, see what he says next, because it's also really important.
And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking, people say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus, for what I saw coming. And
okay, so he says that he got radically born again during this time frame. So there's basically 3 areas in which we can look at sort of closely and try to ask the question or determine, is this guy a true prophet? He makes 3 kind of independent claims here. There's a bullet that flies by his ear, there's a busted eardrum, and then he falls on his knees and becomes a sort of radical on fire for God Christian. Those are sort of 3 areas that we can use to test whether or not this guy is a true prophet. Now, let's go to his next video, his follow-up video, in which he attempts to explain sort of what happened, at least with the eardrum and what's going on with that. So let's watch this and see what he's got to say in response.
And I, last night I was asking the Lord, I said, what about, people keep asking, what about the eardrum? You missed it on the eardrum. You missed it on the eardrum. And it didn't bust, nothing busted about the eardrum. And I'm going to tell you all, this is what I saw. And I want to say this. I've noticed a lot of times whenever I watch other prophetic videos, if they've missed it, they don't come out and address the elephant in the room. They just kind of bypass it. They push it under a rug, and they don't come out and address it and say, "Hey, I missed it" or whatever. They just kind of act like and ignore it and act like it never happened. And I am a very transparent person. I am never here to try to be false about anything. I tell you what I see. And I pray, and that's what I do. And I see visions. The Lord gives me things.
This is important right here because he explains sort of how he sees things, how he gets these prophecies, and the way he gets them is through these visions. So he sees things through some sort of vision. Maybe it's almost like you could imagine like a daydream where you're thinking about something else that occurs, and what he claims is that this is coming directly from God. And so he's about to explain in this next clip exactly what he saw and how that's not necessarily inconsistent with the facts, the real facts of the matter. Now, what's important though here is that he says that a lot of prophets don't really try to explain like what's going on with the false parts of their prophecies. And so that's, I think, one thing that is really important and I think good about Brandon is that he's at least attempting to do that. He understands it's important to call yourself out and try to be as truthful as possible and whether or not you are a true prophet. And I mean, the Bible is very clear about this. Like it tells us, dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because so many false prophets have gone out into the world. And so this is a very biblical thing to do, is to test. We don't want to just believe this guy and claim that he's a prophet simply on the basis that he got some of these details correct. We actually want to test it and see if what he said actually lines up. That's what we're attempting to do here. Now we need to know exactly what he saw and whether or not what he saw is consistent with the facts.
And so this is what the Lord showed me. Okay, I saw the bullet go by his ear right here. And whenever I saw it, I saw the radio waves. That's why I was trying to tell you, it was kind of like the Matrix whenever Neo or whatever was going backwards and you could see those bullets shooting like that. And it was like that's why I made that.
Okay, first of all, this is like super nostalgia. I love the Matrix. That was my childhood.
First video, and I was trying to show you all that. That's what I was seeing in the spirit. I saw the sound waves whenever I was praying, and the Lord I was seeing over into what he wanted me to see. I saw the sound waves coming off of it, and whenever it passed by his ear.
Okay, see, that's an important detail because it says that he saw it pass by his ear as opposed to going through his ear. Now, you might think that just on that basis alone, this guy's a false prophet. I'm not really sure what to make of that. If a detail like that, I mean, it seems like a relatively small detail, but it is a detail nevertheless that he gets wrong, seemingly gets wrong. Like it doesn't just pass by his ear, it goes through his ear. And so some people are like, just on that basis alone, ready to discount this guy as a false prophet. But let's continue.
I saw blood flow down his face, just like it did, okay? I did not know that it pierced his ear in the vision. I did not see that. I saw it go by and I saw blood flow. So I'm telling you all, this is where people get in trouble in the prophetic. You add to and you take away from what you're seeing. So here I was. It's immaturity. I'm just being real with y'all. It's immaturity. I need to grow. I added to. I said it was a busted eardrum because I saw blood flowing down his face. So I thought, surely there's no way any sound that's going to go, anything like that, that's going to cause that to pop. Okay.
So this is actually something that I hypothesized actually when I saw his first video. Initially, I thought that this guy just got this wrong. But actually, when I was sort of doing a recording of this video, the first recording that I did, it actually occurred to me that maybe what he saw in his vision was just blood, and he interpreted that as a sort of eardrum bursting, because a lot of times when your eardrum bursts, you do have blood that comes out of your ear. So that was actually my hypothesis that he now confirms here for us. Now, but the issue is still, though, that the bullet goes by his ear and it doesn't go through his ear. That's the thing that sort of causes the blood. So if you're willing to discount this guy as a false prophet on that basis, then that's obviously your prerogative. But this is what he says. He attempts to make it clear what he says here. Now, there is one additional thing that he says about Trump sort of falling on his knees and becoming a on fire for God Christian that we'll actually take a little bit more look into momentarily. So let's continue this here.
Something, you know, so I'm using my intellect with something I'm seeing in the spirit. And whenever you're doing that and you're trying to decipher what you're seeing, you're adding to it. And so, shame on me. I saw that. So I see this thing flying by his ear, and I see the blood. So, and then I see him fall to his knees. That's what I saw. And then that's what the Lord showed me, that he would get radically saved on his knees.
Okay, so the vision ends, but he falls on his knees and gets radically saved there. Now that, I mean, I'm still unsure what that is supposed to mean or signify. Like in a prophecy or in a vision like that, that doesn't necessarily have to be something that is like event for event, like falling on your knees and becoming this on fire for God Christian, like right after an assassination attempt. That just seems a little strange. I'm not sure how that would work. So it seems to me like this is still nevertheless some sort of metaphor for what might happen over maybe the course of a few days or a week or something like that. Not necessarily momentary, like immediately. That's at least just my impression. Maybe Brandon, what he saw was that Trump would fall on his knees and become this on fire for God Christian immediately, in which case that does seem false. Like that's not what happened at all. Trump was sort of tackled by Secret Service, and then he was like, you know, yelling fight, 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 while he was sort of being escorted away to the armored vehicle. That seems like another place where we could just say that this guy is false if that's what he meant. Now, on the interpretation though that I gave earlier, where it could be over the course of a few days, it could be maybe even that night that he experienced some sort of, as he was reflecting on what happened, that he had a change of heart. Now, the next thing I want to show you is actually a video that I saw pop up on Facebook. The attempt here is to show that there is evidence that Trump's demeanor has changed in significant ways, which may or may not indicate that he's closer to God or closer to Jesus. But let's watch this.
Did the attempt on Donald Trump's life change him? There seems to be some evidence that it did, and that's not just coming from his supporters. An expert says he seems different too. During the first 2 days of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, viewers have noticed what seems to be a less intense energy coming off the former president. Trump's demeanor at the 2024 RNC is being contrasted with how he presented himself at the 2020 convention.
Joe Biden is weak. He takes his marching orders from liberal hypocrites.
Though Trump hasn't given his 2024 convention speech as of the making of this video, he seems to have a different vibe in the appearances he's made. For example, some noted the former president's emotional display as he made his entrance during the convention's first day. Conservative media commentator Bill Mitchell wrote on X, formerly Twitter, "When Donald Trump entered the convention hall, there was a new look of humility in his eyes I have never seen before. This is a man who knows he would not be alive but by the grace of God."
So I think this is some evidence. It's very, I think, weak evidence, but it is some evidence that supports the idea that Trump has some sort of significant change of heart. And so I think this is important and important to take into consideration.
Later, Trump smiled after joining the crowd chanting USA, the same chant that broke out at the Pennsylvania rally. Ashley St. Clair, a conservative author, wrote of that moment on X. "I have never seen Trump look this emotional and moved before. Hard to watch without tearing up after everything." Nicki Swift reached out to fraud-busting body language expert Tracy Brown, CSP, who confirmed that Trump has been leaning into a gentler demeanor. Brown said, "We're seeing a softer look from him. Body language can't reveal vulnerability, but we do see him showing much less anger than normal, as evidenced by reduced scowl lines on his glabella area." The glabella, Brown explained, is the area between the eyebrows above the bridge of the nose. She also pointed directly toward the moment he entered the convention on the first day, saying his reaction was unusual. Brown said, "While he was in the tunnel for a moment, we saw a bit of sadness, as evidenced by his eyebrows turning up at the glabella, and quickly followed after that something very unusual, a look of peace. We don't see any of these from him often, so it's reasonable to assume the shooting has affected him."
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think he didn't have this sort of arrogant demeanor that he kind of like has had in the past, and maybe that's going to change. Maybe in the future he's just going to kind of fall back into his old ways. We don't know that. As of what we've seen from this RNC convention, like it does kind of seem plausible that he's had some, I mean, in general, like that seems a very plausible thing that would occur, right? It just seems very natural that if you had like a very close brush with death, you're going to make some significant changes. It's going to change your perspective.
Trump did go back on the offensive on July 16th in a Truth Social post, where he put the blame of his legal woes squarely on the Democrats. He wrote, "The Democrat Justice Department coordinated all of these political attacks, which are an election interference conspiracy against Joe Biden's political opponent, me." Trump also posted an attack on President Biden's physical fitness on July 17th, just a few days after the two opponents shared what Trump called a very nice phone call, where Biden checked in on his well-being. The July 17th post features the famous photo of Trump with an upheld fist after the shooting, labeled "Trump versus Bullet." Below that is a series of photos of Biden stumbling on the stairs going up to Air Force One in 2021. It's labeled "Biden versus Stairs."
So as far as the evidence in favor of Trump being this on fire for God Christian now, I think the evidence for that is pretty weak, which I think is actually another indication that Brandon Biggs didn't really get that part right either. So what do you guys think, though? Is this guy a true prophet? Did he get it wrong? Did he just sort of, was it a big coincidence? Let me know in the comments.
But in the fall, I told you all that. So a lot of people wanted to know about the economic crisis that I saw coming. I believe it happens at the beginning of next year, going into, and that's why some people say that's what I saw, that it was in the winter months whenever this crash happens. So will it happen this year or will it happen next year? All I know is that when you're seeing in the spirit, you see in part, you hear in part, you know, and a day is like 1,000 years to the Lord. Okay, so when you're seeing in the spirit, you think it's imminent, it could happen right now. But it may be 2 years down the road, 3 years. But I believe it's something that's going to happen quickly. Okay, because that's what I was showing. So nobody said, "Well, you missed it." No, it's still going to happen. It is a planned economic collapse. I saw a dam full of like all kinds of like bad things. It would look like sludge. It was all kinds of, I saw barrels and they had writing on the side of them. And it said about finances, bank collapse, bank structure meltdown. It was all kinds of like big 50-gallon drums. This is interesting because I've never shared this before. It was a dam. It looked like a Hoover Dam. And it had water, of course, but it wasn't water. It looked like nasty, swampy, muddy-looking, thick water. It was gross. And there were 50-gallon drums balancing up and down in that sludge. And they had written on them like economic crisis. It had like I'm saying, dollar crash, things like that. And they were written on the barrels. And it was all being contained by this dam. And the Lord said they're holding back all that until the election is over. And when that is over, it will be released. That's what I saw. And I saw that dam break and it flooded upon the American soil. And all those 50-gallon drums fell and rolled down. It was like a toxic waste. is what it looked like rolling down out of that big dam. And so, like I said, I've never showed that publicly. But that's interesting. I should have shared it a long time ago now. I have to think about it. But okay. So when this happens, I saw food lines. I saw people lined up down the street, and it happened like that. It was that quick. I saw the stock market ticker. I was watching the TV, and the lady came on the TV lady came on there. It was, I believe it was CNBC that was on the TV channel. And no, I believe, what was it? CNBC? No, it wasn't CNBC. It was MSNBC, which is, I would never watch that channel, but it was, I'm just telling you, but it was on that channel, and I seen the thing on the God help me. I'm just telling you, I'm being real. It was on MSNBC, and and the ticker was going down, and the stock market was crashing, and people were freaking out, and it was it was terrible, and everything happened that fast. The dollar collapses, and so all that dam was released, and then all the dollar crashed, and it was people, like I said, were standing. There was, and like I've said this too. I don't know how long it lasts. When I'm talking about President Trump praying in the Oval Office, it could have been praying for months. I believe this thing lasts. I've told you about the 4 oak trees. People want to know about the 4 oak trees. What about the 4 oak trees? What about the 4 oak trees? What does that mean? I believe it means 4 years of an economic downturn. Bad. And it will take that time frame for things to get better. I said the first year came on suddenly and people did not expect it. And I saw their faces. They had dirt on them. They looked dirty. They looked like the children that you see pictures of in the Depression. They look, their clothes looked dingy toward the 2 middle years. And I saw people really struggling in those 2. The first year was bad. The second year was bad. The third year was bad. And things started to turn around into the 4th year. They started coming out of it. Okay? And I saw the 4 years, 4 oak trees. First year came on really quick. I'm going to repeat it again. First year came on like overnight. Bam. People weren't expecting it. They lost everything. They were in their shorts and they were in t-shirts and they were freezing. This was a symbolic thing. It was not about that they were cold, but it was like, oh no, it's shock. Oh, the cold air came. The leaves on the trees fell and everything was barren. The oak tree was still alive, which represents America. But the leaves and the fruit of the tree was stripped off, which was prosperity, the blessing, the acorns, okay? Was stripped off and it fell. It was gone. 4 years, I believe. Some people say it's 4 seasons. I do not. I believe in my spirit it's 4 years. First year was really hard. People were in their winter clothes, their summer clothes. They were cold. They did not like it. The next 2 years, people had winter clothes on, but they looked dirty. They had dirt on their face. They were struggling. They acted like they were, it's almost like you're going through that war-torn time. Like you're like, oh, woe's me. You know, like we're bearing it up. They've got grit. We're going to make it through it. That you could see they're struggling. They're having a hard time. The 4th year was coming out of the bondage. I saw Trump taking pieces of a ship that went poof, okay? And it was America's ship. And all the ship had different pieces. I saw a wing over here. I saw a cockpit over there. I saw the tail over here. I saw the wheels of the ship. It's not a ship. It's a plane. A rocket ship is what I'm trying. A rocket ship, okay? It's not a boat. It's a ship, like a rocket ship. So it had, the wheels were off, and everything was pieces everywhere. But this is amazing, because in the vision, President Trump took a piece of the wing, and piece of another piece. And he couldn't put it back together. I want you to hear what I'm saying, okay? This is very important. Listen to me. He couldn't put it back together the way it was before. He took it and put it back together to make it usable, and how he could salvage it the best he could. Okay? And he created a new kind of an airplane. It could fly, but it was never as good as the original. It was never as good as the original. It could fly. This plane that he will build will fly again. I believe in the 4th year. But it will never be America like it was. Okay? It was a type and shadow. I saw USA written on the airplane in black letters. And it was a silver plane that looked mirrored. It was a mirrored looking plane, like aluminum. Okay? That's the way the plane looked. I feel the Holy Spirit on this. I need you to hear me. I'm warning you. On the plane, it said USA, but it never was built back the way it was supposed to. It had the parts looked like it was never going to fly again. It looked impossible for what I saw in the vision. One wing was like kind of crooked looking. The other wing was kind of looking like this, and the back tail wing had holes in it. But he got that plane off the ground. And I thought, there's no way that's ever going to fly again. Most people didn't think so. But the Lord spoke to me and he said, I'm bringing a wisdom like Solomon to help. For this will be my rescue to America. And in this, he said, there will be a great humbling that will come. And in the humbling, America will be rebirthed. There will be a rebirthing come for America. And I saw America start to come up off that ground in this broken up looking airplane, looking ship looking thing, rocket ship. And it started to fly, but it was like a biplane, like barely wanting to go. It wasn't a jet no more. It wasn't a rocket, but it was a plane. It was flying. And then the Lord showed me upon Mexico. I saw Canada and I saw America, and they created no borders. I wanted to call borders because I'm not going to add to or take away from anything. I'm going to get in trouble again. I did not see no borders. I saw that there was no financial borders. That's a better way to say it. No financial borders. I never saw no borders like you were able to come into Mexico and everybody else with no security. I saw no financial borders. That's a better way to say that, because the people will be going, well, you missed that. He's going to build a wall. No, he will build a wall, okay? And there will be, I've seen that. There will be a wall built. But financial borders is a better way to say this, okay? And they created a one currency between them to try to combat the BRICS. Combat the BRICS nations, okay? Because they were strong and they were trying to thrive without America. And he created a Mexico-Canada currency. He signed contracts. They created their own thing. That's how they were trying to salvage what they could. England and Germany, France, all of Europe join in with the financial system with America. That's just why the euro collapses too. When the dollar collapses, the euro collapses. And I'm trying to warn you about this because the Lord warned me. I was finished with the video, and so I'm adding this in there right now. The euro is going to collapse. The dollar is going to collapse. The BRICS is going to take over and be the super hub of the world. They're going to have their oil. They're going to do it with Saudi Arabia. I'm warning you all. I hope you're listening. Saudi Arabia, China, Japan, Russia, all of the Middle East will all follow the BRICS nations. Venezuela will follow the BRICS nations. Africa will join up with the BRICS nations. All of it. Egypt, all of it. It will all join there. And eventually, I said, the flag starts to spread out like a Chinese flag. And it goes all throughout all of the Middle East, all of Africa, and it keeps going. It looks like an Indiana Jones. Remember, I warned you all. It'll be the videos down below. And it goes boing, 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 and it spreads. And it goes throughout some of South America, but not all of South America. Okay? So this is what the Lord showed me about. This would be when Trump's in office, okay? Australia will join in. They will be a ally to America. They will stand strong. So will England. So will Canada. So will Mexico. And Mexico, I told you all, was neutral. They just wanted to be where the money was. They were kind of just, they were in the neutral zone. Like, we don't want to be broke. We want to go in. But that's whenever Donald Trump makes this deal. I'm telling you, I've seen this in the spirit. I'm warning you all. He creates a Canada. I'll say this again. A Canada, Mexico, America. No financial borders for I hope I don't butcher this name, Yamero. Yamero, is that right, son?
Yamero, something like that.
Something like that, whatever. But it's a new currency that was like that. But Europe will join up with it, okay? And that they will try to combat with the BRICS. And it will fly some, but it will not be as strong ever. People say, well, why would the euro crash? Why would that happen? An escalation of war in Europe. A great acceleration with Russia, Ukraine, and Poland all getting involved. And this is why there will be a major draft soon. I've warned you all. I've seen a draft in America, not just with men, but with women, because they've asked for equal rights. They've asked for women to be created equal, not to look at it as sexist and all this other stuff. So they will add that into the draft bill for women to be drafted and men. Okay? So this is what I saw. This is the plan. I don't know if it will ever get passed. I pray it doesn't. I'm praying against this stuff. But this is what I see when I pray. I warn you all of things to come. This is what is stirring in the spirit. Some of the stuff, well, you can't pray. It won't stop, Brandon, but I'm just letting you know. So I'm just, the war in Europe will cause the euro to crash. So he builds that plane, and so then I see us coming out of it. And I see America, like I said, I saw revival. I saw revival break forth. I saw in these hard times, I saw revival. I saw a shaking. I saw people thinking, this is an Ichabod. God left. I heard people saying that. This is God's judgment on America. And the Lord said to me, Brandon, this is not my judgment upon America. This is my wake up. This is a wake-up call. This is correction. For you will not be a goat nation. You will be a sheep nation that serves me. And because, I've told you all, because of the covenants that were made at Plymouth Rock, they all stood around Plymouth Rock, and I saw the old ancestors of our country all standing around Plymouth Rock, taking communion and calling out for a God-fearing nation, a one nation under God. That's the kind of people that stood on that soil, and they proclaimed that this would be a nation that serves God. And he said, those prayers still come before my throne. And he said, Brandon, I will not let those prayers be ignored. I still hear them. They still cry out to me. And he said, I honor them. And not just because of how bonehead these people are, but like what we have in the office now. But he said he's going to bring that back still, and they will stand. This will be a righteous nation again. I'm telling you, there will be a great shaking. And I'm telling you, there will be an awakening and great revival. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to be part of the revival. Not everybody's going to get saved. But I'm telling you, there will be a great harvest of souls. There will be a great harvest of people coming into the kingdom of God. And they will be born again. And there are going to be healings and deliverances and people set free. And all kinds of amazing things will take place. People say it's a great Ichabod, but it will not be an Ichabod. It will be, he said, he never leave us nor forsake us. Lo, unto the end of the earth, he'll be with us always. But most people will say, well, God's judging America. This isn't true judgment. True judgment is separation from the Lord for eternity. And you need to understand that. What is coming will humble America, humble the people so that he can reach you. Okay? Because your head's full of pride. People are full of pride. And they are not willing to come to and come to repentance. They're not willing to. But when you take away the precious, which is usually the cash and the gold, that's whenever that you get their attention a little bit. That's what happens. Well, you touched my wallet. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Touch the thing that's most important. What you love the most, you'll see it. When you touch the thing they love the most, that's whenever you see the shaking. And that's what's going to happen. Because a lot of people have a love for money too much, and it's going to be shaken. But when I've told you about the investments and told you about that, and that's what you're going to see now, I'm going to talk to you about that. That's for the remnant. That's for the people to supply for the body of Christ so that they are not lacking. We have to stand out in these end times. Why will we have the finances? Why will we have the money to help support the churches so they don't go under? To support people so they have food, to support people for whatever. You got to have finances for that. But you've got to be listening to him on what you're supposed to be doing for your family and how you're supposed to put food back, whatever, for what the storm that's coming. I told you, it's a massive hurricane. And the eye of the bands of the storm are just now entering into the shore. They're just now coming in. The eye has not even gotten here yet. Folks, we're fixing to go into a time like we've never seen before. And people don't want to hear that. They get mad at me and they call me doom and gloom. But I have to tell you the truth and what the Lord has showed me. You want to put me on a shelf and say he's flaky? Whatever. At least your blood is not on my hands as a watchman. I can wash my hands and sleep better at night to tell you, I told you what was coming. Now, if you don't want to hear me, that's fine. But I don't have to worry about me going to bed at night saying, listen, I didn't tell them because I was afraid of what they'd say about me. I don't care. You need to hear it. And if you listen to sugar-coated prophets, these little My Little Pony prophets, going out there, stroking everybody, everything's gonna be okay. Everybody's gonna listen. Let's go eat some Lucky Charms and watch cartoons, Captain America or something. Whatever. You're not gonna get that from me. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Jesus is coming, but he's coming back for a church that is without spot or wrinkle. He's coming back for a people that are separated unto him. He's coming back for a people that are not walking in sin and practicing sin. Okay? People mess up. Yeah, we have times that we struggle with some things. But we don't practice it. We don't deliberately going in and doing stuff. Saying, well, I'm going to live and do what I want to do. No. The very thing that you say you got saved from, you're going back to. And you can't do that. You have to say, hey, I'm sold out. I'm sold out for Jesus. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I'm seeking Jesus with all my heart. Yeah, we may stumble and bump our knee along the way, but we pick ourselves back up and we're still seeking his face. We're not going, well, I want to ride the fence. I want a little bit of the world stuff, and I want a little bit of Jesus. And I want to ride the fence as much as I can. I got one foot in the world, watching porn on the weekends and going out and partying and drinking and going to the strip clubs. And I got one foot over here because I go to church on Sunday. Whatever. You're going to hell. I'm just telling you. That if you die today, you're going to hell. You say, well, no, I go to church on Sunday, I repented. No. You can't treat God that way. Hey, you can't do that way. And you say, well, it's under grace. Whatever. Watch what happens. I'm telling you, there's a whole bunch of you going to wake up in hell and you're going to go, I thought I was a Christian. No. He said, I'd rather you be hot or cold, but if you lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. What does that mean to you? He'll spew you out of his mouth. Depart from me, he says, I never knew you. But I prophesied in your name, Lord. I laid hands on the sick in your name. I cast out devils in your name. I gave to the church in your name, Lord. But he said, I didn't know you. That's Jesus that's going to say that to you folks. You did all those things. So let me tell you, look at this. He's talking to the church. These are people who I'm gonna tell you, it takes some anointing, it takes some authority to cast out a devil. It takes some anointing and some authority to lay hands on some sick and see him recover. It takes some anointing and some authority to hear him and prophesy. Those are people who supposedly think they're walking with him. But he said, I never knew you. Depart from me. Who is he talking to? He's talking to the church. But people don't want to acknowledge that. Well, it's under grace. I can live the way I want to. Woe unto you that think this. Woe. God help you. God help you. I hope you're listening to me. There's a shaking coming. And it's going to be a shaking to waken. And when this happens, will you be on the right side of eternity? Will you be standing on the right side? Because he told me, Brandon, I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm drawing a line and I'm saying, who will serve me this day? Are you on the Lord's side or are you on the world's side? Woe unto you who are trying to walk the fence. If you're walking the fence, you'll wake up eternity in hell. I'm telling you. You better be on fire for Jesus in these last days. You think, well, I'm qualified to go to the rapture. Whatever.
Tôi rất tiếc là không thể nào mà dịch cho kịp. Bởi vì tôi biết có nhiều người nghe nhưng mà không thể hiểu nổi, bởi vì nhất là hai cái video đầu thì nói nhanh quá. Nhưng mà những người nói tiếng Anh hoặc là những người nghe tiếng Anh được thì có thể hiểu. Bây giờ chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau suy nghĩ một chút trong cái mình sẽ không có bàn gì về hai cái video đầu bởi vì cái đó nó rõ ràng, nhưng mà cái thứ ba đó tôi chỉ muốn chúng ta cùng nhau suy nghĩ một chút xíu thôi. Bởi vì nếu điều mà cái ông này ông nói là đúng, như tôi nói từ đầu, rằng các vị tiên tri khi mà họ nói có thể đúng và có thể sai. Nhưng mà khi ông nói về, gọi là ông nói về cái việc mà bắn trúng cái vành tai đó, được qua lỗ tai đó, thì cái chuyện đó là có thể nói là trong 1 tỷ trường hợp nó không có cái chuyện đó xảy ra, nhưng mà ông nói trúng. Và khi ông nói rằng ông bể cái lá nhĩ đó, thì ông sau này ông nói rằng cái đó bởi vì ông suy diễn. Ông thấy máu chảy thì ông nghĩ là như vậy. Là đúng rồi, tự vì các tiên tri thường thường là họ cũng hay suy diễn những cái điều mà không phải là Chúa nói cho họ. Thì cái đó là chúng ta có thể hiểu rằng vì cái ông này ông nói khoảng chừng 3-4 tháng trước cái chuyện nó xảy ra, cho nên rằng không ai có thể nói rằng cái ông này ông bịa đặt được hết, hoặc là thấy chuyện xảy ra ông nói một cái đó ông nói trúng. Vì vậy thì chúng ta phải suy nghĩ về cái hậu quả của việc sụp đổ cái nền kinh tế tài chánh, và nó sẽ ảnh hưởng tới toàn thế giới chứ không phải chỉ riêng nước Mỹ. Vì vậy thì tôi chỉ muốn trình bày vấn đề này với quý ông bà chị em một chút, để chúng ta, nhất là những người đang có tài sản. Tôi không nói là gọi là cái nhà cửa, bởi vì nhà cửa nó có sụp đổ này, nó thì nhà cửa nó cũng chừng đó thôi. Nó chỉ mất giá, rồi sau nó lại lên giá trở lại thì không thành vấn đề. Nhưng mà cái số tiền mà quý ông bà chị em có trong ngân hàng đó, có thể theo cái lời ông này nói đó, thì nó mất giá ít nhất là 50%. Mất giá ít nhất 50%. Đó là cái điều mà tôi nghe. Có thể nó mất giá nhiều hơn. Cho nên tôi chỉ muốn chúng ta cùng nhau, nhất là tôi lo lắng về cái quỹ của Hội Thánh. Quỹ Hội Thánh nó trúng một cái đó thì quỹ Hội Thánh coi như là gần như là mình sạch túi đó. Vì vậy đó thì chúng ta phải suy nghĩ vấn đề này. Và đương nhiên là trong cái buổi nhóm này chúng ta không thể mà gọi là mình bàn là mình phải đầu tư như thế nào, mình phải như thế nào. Theo thường thì người Việt Nam cũng như các nước, họ mua vàng. Họ mua vàng. Thì dù cho kinh tế lên, kinh tế xuống gì đi nữa thì cái vàng nó cũng giữ cái giá của nó. Rồi sau đó thì nó phục hồi trở lại. Còn việc mà tôi chỉ đề nghị với ông bà chị em chúng ta chuẩn bị, nhất là cho những năm, nếu mà ông nói đúng là nó sẽ xảy ra, ông nói năm thứ tư nó mới phục hồi, nhưng mà trong 3 năm đầu thì sẽ là rất là khó khăn. Người Việt Nam chúng ta được một cái là mình ăn cơm, cho nên là mình có thể để dành gạo được và mình có thể chịu đựng được trong những ngày sắp tới. Vì vậy thì tôi chỉ muốn trình bày một ít để cho quý ông bà chị em có thể hiểu được cái vấn đề nó nghiêm trọng chứ không phải là giống như chúng ta nghĩ. Và theo như cái điều mà ông nói rằng thì dù cho cái năm thứ tư phục hồi trở lại, nước Mỹ sẽ không giống như hiện nay nữa. Nó sẽ rất là bấp bênh, nó giống như một cái máy bay mà không thể bay nổi đó. Nó chỉ lắp vá, chấp vá này nọ. Vì vậy thì chúng ta cần phải hiểu, không phải là nước Mỹ sẽ bị trừng phạt, nhưng mà Chúa đã khiến nước Mỹ phải biết hạ mình xuống trước mặt Đức Chúa Trời. Bởi vì hiện nay nhiều người chỉ biết có tiền, cho nên là chúng ta phải có cái suy nghĩ đó. Buổi nhóm đây là hết. Thank you for coming.